And so everybody knows that this is a recorded session. I have started posting these on my website so that people can view them after. And I'm also finding that as topics are coming up, I'm able to say, oh, go back to this, recording or that recording for, more information to go more in depth. So as they're starting to build on top of each other, I don't feel like I have to try and cover so many pieces in each topic. There's a lot, right? It's like a lot.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and share my slide deck. There we go. Okay, and can you see that all okay? Oops.
Yeah.
Hold on. Going ahead of myself. Okay. So let's see. I always like to start these off and talk about expectations. So nothing new, right? This is really a very safe space for everybody. So you can use the chat or raise your hand if you don't feel like you're able to interrupt. But I do really appreciate the questions and feedback as we're going along, because this is, this information is for you guys. So I like to make sure that it is covering the information that you were expecting. So feel free to raise your hand or ask a question. And then, as always, this is a no judging zone. So we all come with our own backgrounds, belief systems, whether we still follow them or not, building new belief systems, and we're all on a journey of learning. So, right, we just respect and not judge others for what they might be experiencing. So, all right, so we'll jump into the topic that we're going to be going over today, and it's going to be talking about preparing your pets. So I was like, preparing your pets for, and then I realized like there were so many things. And so what I really want to do is bring to light those items that those topics that you can keep in mind for helping to prepare your pet. And then some of the things that you can do on a regular basis to help prepare both yourself and your pet for those events. All right. And then we're going to do a practice session. So, Angie, I know that you sent in a picture for ballerina. And however, so thank you for that. If we have time, we'll do that. But the one that we're going to do before that is a, what is he, about a month old now? Andalusian foal, little colt. So, and you'll see why it's so interesting that so Jennifer offered for us to talk with her little foal, her little colt. And one of the topics that we're going to be that is on that agenda of preparing your pets is introducing a new pet or a new family member, like a baby, whether it's a baby animal or another baby human. So I was like, wow, this actually all fits together. Imagine that. So, so let's go on to this list. And then when we're done going through this list, if you can think of some others that I didn't put down here, please either add them in the chat session or go ahead and speak up, and we will be sure to cover those as well. So first off is traveler separation. That's always on the top of the list. So when I have people connect with me and I'm talking with a pet, oftentimes the person has similar anxiety about separating from their pet. And so sometimes I hear from the pet that they prefer to be crated or put in a small area when their human is gone, because they have less concern about having to take care of the whole house or having to watch over the house. And I've seen dogs that have stomach problems reverse those and really feel a lot better when they're just able to not have to worry themselves about, again, caring for the house when their person's gone. On the other end of things, I've had, pets that didn't have the proper training for a crate. And then, were put in a crate and tore up the crate and then tore and then tore everything up because, the whole, they, got put into their crate, their human left the house. And so their mental state, they lost it mentally, right? So even once they got out of their crate, they just kept that, that effort and that behavior just continued. So when we're focused on and talking about animal communication, it's about ensuring that, for me, it's giving the pet a voice and asking them, do you feel like you want to be in a crate or in a certain room, or what kind of space works best for you when I'm gone? And are you ready for that kind of space? And then what can I do to help prepare you for that? I've also had a lot of requests from pets for certain, like, they want to hear the radio, or they want to have TV on, they want to have cartoons on. I had a cat one time that said, quit leaving the Weather Channel on. I want to see action movies. And the lady just cracked up and she goes, I told you. She like looks to her partner. She's like, I told you he watches those those action movies with me. I told you. So there's so there's a lot of options when talking about separating from a pet. When traveling with a pet, it's kind of the same idea. What is what are they comfortable with being in a car? I've had pets that wanted to be in a crate, others that rather not. Frankly, most that I've talked to like to have secure, safe places to be when they're in the car. They feel like, or at least flat areas where they're not going to be falling off of a seat, things of that nature. Some like to have their feet on the ground. Smaller dogs like to be down on the feet, at people's feet in the cars that I get often. I've also had some dogs request that you cover their crate or cover the back, so that, because it just, seeing all the things go by made them nervous. And the person that reported back after this session that for the first time, and they covered the crate, the dog didn't say a word until they got to like a gravel road, and then the dog knew that they were close to something, and so it started to like, show signs of being excited to do something. But otherwise was quiet in the car, where before it would just be barking and whining and barking the whole time. So there's all sorts of options out there, and taking some time, and that's what we'll talk about, what you can do in receiving the information back from the pet on, the best way to help them through those, through that, both travel or separation. All right, so introducing a new pet or a new family member like a baby. So I'm guilty of, bringing home a dog and going, look, you got your new playmate. And it was like, really? Who told you I wanted this? And even if they want one, they like to participate maybe in that choice. In some cases, it's not about participating in a choice. In some cases, it's about being part of a family. And, as being part of a family, when you have someone new entering into the pack, the herd, or the house, setting new boundaries, helping them to understand what is the right behavior or wrong behavior, what's acceptable and not acceptable is really important, right? So as our pets, whether they're, whether you treat them like your child or where on that spectrum sort of you sit, it's really important to have good boundaries in the relationship, because otherwise, one side gets more stressed, right, and more tired than another. I'd heard someone who talked about going in for counseling, And the counselor asked, and it was a partner thing, and the counselor said, do you feel like the chores are, equally divided? And one person said, oh yeah, absolutely. And the other one was like, no way. And without proper boundaries, you could end up in counseling or training or asking for help, right? Because your pet's sort of walking all over you, and you're trying to figure out how to serve the household, not just, right, not just their needs. So everybody's needs. So when you're introducing a new pet or a new family member, helping them to understand that although they might like to have been an only child, only pet, or, that they kind of like the way things were status quo. There's a lot of wonderful things that comes from adding a member into the pack, the herd, the family. And so part of the communication is, again, not just hearing what the pet is saying, but to also express to them those details, right, that you may not go into otherwise. Certainly moving to a new home, letting them know when you're packing up and when you're moving, what that's going to look like. In this case, I've had a lot of requests from the pet to say, what is it, are we going to have, a background, a backyard, or am I going to have the garage that I can stay in? Or so some of their favorite places they want to make sure that they've got access to, or that it's going to be something similar for them. So acknowledging that they'll be leaving some things that are very common to them and very, part of their routine, right? Their routine shifts, letting them know about that and giving them some visuals of what that will look like, and including the beginning of, going through tons of boxes and everything being completely disorganized to moving into a whatever organized state that means to you. All right. This one I thought was really interesting too, that sort of came to mind, was training new skills. So and I've had the opportunity to work with some service dogs and some trained dogs in training. And what's been really cool is to ask the dog, like, what kind of work do you want to do? Right. And are you enjoying, anything from agility and dock diving and, barn hunting to service with PTSD or healthcare, and helping them to understand, if they are learning some new skills, what the purpose of those skills are going to be, to help to accelerate that program. So for example, I had one dog that was really stalled in her service. And so we had a communication session, and where they were in the service skills, they were kind of focused on like medications a little bit, and handling that kind of work. And the dog was like, I really don't want to do healthcare. Like, hospitals smell wrong. I don't feel comfortable with people that have health issues. Like, that was not what she wanted to do. So when she understood that this was just part of the training requirements that they have to go through in order to get certain certifications, but that she wasn't going to be there forever, or actually not even that long, and she wasn't going to have to worry about healthcare, she was like excited, got through it, and moved on. and and the person that handles the training program was like, yeah, well, we usually don't really assess the dog until like the end to decide what do we think that they would like the most. And she said, I hadn't even thought about really addressing this ahead of time, right? And through the different levels of the service, because they may think that this is where they're going to be forever and they don't want to be there. So the next one is on vet visits and grooming. I put it for grooming. I'm going to say and grooming.
You hear Marla?
Yeah.
I think Ricky hears you.
Oh. Yeah, vet visits and grooming. So one of the discussions that we come up with in class when we're talking about vet visits. Well, I'm going to talk about the grooming really quick. I generally ask when I'm working with people and they have their cat or their dog, if how they do when they need to trim their nails, because nails trimming is a not a favorite sport for most of the cats and the dogs that I talk to. And even the ones that are good about it are doing it out of loyalty for their person, not because it's a preference, not because they're like, I want to go get a pedicure today, right? They wouldn't necessarily go and choose that. So letting them know that it's really important to do for health reasons. I've seen a lot of really good impact. One feedback that I got from a lady who said that, she's like, yeah, could you talk to her about trimming her nails? It was a dog. And so I kind of asked her about, what is this experience with trimming nails? And she said her right front paw was really sensitive. And so she said, if you could just start with my left front paw and work around the back and end with my right front, then I think things will go a lot better. And so her person reported back that she was able to get that nail trim done and it had been years that they struggled over this, and that they were able to get it completed without any without any issue. First time in years. And so by kind of working with the pet to understand, okay, this has to happen for your health, not a favorite thing, but it's the thing we need to do. What can we do to help you be comfortable? And then certainly having that conversation about a visit to the veterinarian. But when we talk about veterinarian visits, and again, I'm sure that I've done the same thing too, and in the past, is I'll tell the pet, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. When I don't know if everything's going to be okay. Like there could be something seriously wrong. There could be, who knows what, right? They may be going in for a procedure that is going to be, altering to them. And they're only hearing kind of side notes and words about it. And nobody's really sat down and said, this is what it's going to be like. Why is this important? And so I had one lady that I talked to that had a cat. And this cat had serious trust issues with her. And I was like, well, how long have you had this cat? Because it seems like I'm getting that you've had her since she was a kitten, but she's like 8 now or 9. And she's got trust issues with you. And she said, yeah, she does. Yes, I had her since she was a kitten. And I said, well, what about her teeth? Because something showed up with her teeth. And she said, yeah, I had to take her to the vet and they extracted like all but 2 of her teeth. And I was like, oh, and I said, your cat didn't know that this was going to happen. So your cat woke up out of anesthesia and basically had no teeth. And so being very honest and straightforward about what is going to transpire, even if it's something as simple as, and I would suggest when you go in for your regular vet visit, let them know. We're going to go into the room. The vet's going to check. They're going to like put bright things in your eyes. They're going to look in your ears. They're messing with your ears. They're going to look in your mouth. They're even going to take your temperature through your hind end, right? Through your butt, through your anal, whatever you want to say. And so but all these things are really important to check on the health. And so I know it won't be comfortable, but we'll get through it quickly. And I promise that you'll be safe. There won't be any other animals in there. There won't be any surprises. We're just going to go through this and make sure that you're all, all set up. So even for something as simple as their regular annual checkup, will will buy you miles and miles when it comes to the really big stuff, right? So it's a good thing to practice now. Socialization. So when this sort of popped up in my mind, I thought, really, do we need to prepare our pets for socialization? And it was like, yes, you do. And it was like, don't you get prepared to be socialized? Well, I'm like, you're right, I do. So when I'm getting ready to go out and do something, I'm going through that mind. I'm going through my mind and deciding, okay, what am I going to be going to do? And then I've got my checklist of things that I make sure are in place so that when I go and do this activity, grocery shopping, whatever that is, right? Something as simple as grocery shopping, I'm still going through that process of preparing myself. So when your pet is going to go with you somewhere, or you're going to have some people come over and maybe bring some playmates over, even if it's a pet that they are, happy to play with, excited to see, all those good things, letting them know ahead of time, again, really builds trust and strengthens your relationship. What was I going to say about socialization that just kind of, oh, this checklist. So previous recording posted on my website, checklists. This was a really big one that we did earlier this year and for me, it was mind blowing to figure out like these checklists that we go through to prepare ourselves before we go do anything. And to recognize the impact that has on us as the humans, and the pets are reading into that. So as you're preparing your pet, be sure that you know that what your checklist is that you're going through, and that you're sort of communicating those things to them as well. And then last but not least, the really tough stuff, right? Life changes, health, and even the passing of a loved one, the death of a loved one. I have a horse, and some of you have met, some of you haven't. His name is Enzo, and I have a lady that comes out and does some work with him on him, and she said, "Oh my God, he's got so much grief." And I was like, "Really?" And she was like, "Yeah." And then all of a sudden it dawned on me that he had a pasture mate that had passed away a couple of months prior. And they hadn't been in the pasture together in like for a few months before that. But I really I just had not put myself in his feet, in his shoes, to recognize like he missed a friend that he spent time with during the day. And today, I mean, it just like, yeah, it makes me teary eyed. So, um, I've talked to, I had a conversation with a dog a couple of months ago that, it was this lady's husband passed away, and the dog really had been his dog. And so the lady was sort of she was going through the motions of taking care of the dog, but not really engaging with the dog. And so both of them were grieving separately. And it was so sad to see. And so from that came the simplest things like, she had left kibble out for the dog and just would kind of make sure that there was enough kibble in the bowl. And the dog was like, could she just sit and feed me twice a day? Like sit with me and feed me, or maybe just put special food in my dish twice a day, just so that I know that it's an intention for me and I'm not just sort of an afterthought. And and anyway, she reported back, it was kind of a friend of the family, and she reported back that she was she was getting through her grieving process much better by sharing it with the dog and just like understanding that they both missed having him in the house. So, passing of a loved one, having those kind of life changes. Additionally, I often get calls from people that have a pet that is that they feel is, getting older, maybe getting ready to pass. They don't know when the right time is. How will they know when it's the right time? They do want to help the pet if that's what the pet wants to pass, help them to pass. And what I have found to be really helpful is to have a plan. So first of all, does the pet want to pass at home or somewhere else? Do they, what do they want? And what are some of the signs or the signals that they're going to be giving that person, their person, to let them know that they're ready to go? So for me, I had to help one of my dogs to pass a couple of years ago. And our agreement was we were transitioning from our house in the city to a house out on the farm. And she said, if you come out to the farm and I don't run around anymore, that's when it's time. And so now doesn't that seem kind of generic, kind of open-ended to you? Seemed kind of open-ended to me. However, she was declining pretty steadily. And so this one day I had taken her, we went over to Starbucks and I got a coffee. I did the thing that I rarely do. I do this, go and get a Starbucks coffee. And I would never get the dogs a puppuccino. I just think I know that they're great, but I would never do this. And it was just like my intuition was telling me, take her and go do these things. And so we did that. We did a few other things that were just sort of special between us. And then I took her out to the farm and I took her out of the car and she just looked at me and she laid down. And I was like, but no, I was like, no, I don't want this to happen. And so we did what we needed. I put her back in the car. And that night, she was so miserable. I was having to take her out. She loved laying in her crate and stuff. And I'd have to try and help her out of her crate to take her out to go potty. She was just, she wasn't moving. And so the next day I had to take her to go and assist her in her passing. But I knew that was a very clear sign. I'm at one of my favorite places. We've had a great day and I don't even want to, walk beside you. I'm just going to lay here and let you know it's time for me to go. And then one of the things she asked for was to greet people when they come to the farm. So I have I found a garden and, a garden thing that looks like her. And so I put that out. And so it's by a tree. And so when you come on the property, she greets everybody as they come on the farm. So for me, it feels like we still have a little special touch with her. So and sometimes we're preparing our pets, sometimes we're trying to prepare ourselves, right? And so did anybody have any other situations that I didn't have that you might add to this list?
Well, I don't know if this fits, but socialization, taking my dog to my son's house, and my son has a dog, and they've played together many, many, many times, but recently he's been marking in their house with hardwood floors. And so I have not taken him recently because of that. And I don't think I can get him to stop.
So, I mean, so first of all, marking on furniture in somebody else's house is unacceptable. That's bad behavior. And that's no.
Right. Right.
We're not going to have that. So Is that because you're telling me that you don't want to go there anymore? If you don't want to go over there anymore, that's fine, right? Um, if you want to go over there, but you're just trying to express how you're, leading the pack, or how you're the big man on campus, or whatever that is, ixnay on the marking, right? That's not acceptable. That's not what a pack leader does. That's not what, somebody held with high respect does. They handle that in a different way. So that would be my question for him is, Ricky, is it because you're telling me you don't want to go over there anymore for some reason? Or is it that you're trying to show? Now, what's interesting is that for some reason, my memory of going to my grandparents' house came up. And it was a step grandmother and a grandfather, and she was nasty. She just was a nasty person. So by the time I was old enough to not go, which was probably a lot later than I wanted, my parents were like, fine, stay. Or I probably would have started misbehaving because she just was not a nice person. So I don't know if that means I don't want to say I don't know that means anything, but Sally, it may be that for some reason he just doesn't want to go over there anymore. And that's why the memory of my grandparents' house came up, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you could ask him, right? Either way.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. So yeah, so what you can do to help. And we're going to go through this. I'm going to go through this quickly because we'll do this ahead of doing our practice session. But before you start to sit down and talk with your pet, take a deep breath and center yourself. And we know that taking a deep breath changes the chemical makeup and the molecules in your body. So taking that deep breath twice, 3, 4 times until your ego has released the feelings that it's holding on to and enabling you to center yourself. And that's the space where you can then begin by raising your vibration. Let them know you have something to say, just like you would another person, right? Hey, let's sit down and chat for a minute. And then share as much information as possible and be honest and share the details, because we know that they hear us, but sometimes they're only hearing one side of a conversation. Sometimes they're only hearing things in passing. Sometimes their person hasn't quite made a decision about what to do yet. And they only hear bits and pieces until there's something, right? So be honest and share details, even though you think that they may have, you may be belaboring, right? Still sit down and belabor it a bit. And then, of course, tell them how much you love and appreciate them, no matter what you're sharing about with them. And I love you so much, and I so appreciate sitting here with you and having you as my friend, right? Everybody likes to hear that. Even our pet friends. And then thank them for listening, right? So I think we do these steps when we're going to sit down with a friend or a partner or a family member or whatever to have a conversation about anything, good, bad, or indifferent, wherever you are in the spectrum. We go through this process. And so take the time to do that. And sometimes it's through body language. We don't necessarily verbalize it when we're talking to another human. And although the dogs and the pets, cats, horses, can all understand body language, we can sometimes be complex characters and be saying one thing and acting a different way. And so when we say it and show the body language at the same time, then they really adopt it and accept it and sort of bring it into themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to quickly do some crystals and stones because everybody, I don't want to say everybody. Many of the people that I talk to say, I want to strengthen my connection. I would like to connect for longer. I'd like to be more confident in my connection, whatever that sounds like. And for me, crystals and stones are a great way to help support that effort and strengthen that connection. So you can have any of these stones or all with you when you're having that communication, and it will raise your antenna for you and help to strengthen that transmission, right, of that information that you're sending out. So the first one is selenite. This one I think has been on like almost all of my, like, this is your spiritual activation. This is your, like I said, antenna. It sends out there and says, I want to, I'm going to be open to communicating. And it is a wind stone crystal. Why I think it's important to share the values of the stones is that in the case of a selenite, it's spiritual activation, wind. If you're already a pretty pumped up spiritual person and you're like coming into a conversation like, I'm ready to go, that might not be the one for you. You might need something that's a little bit more water-based or earth-based, okay, to help bring you more centered into the conversation, right, and into the communication. Selenite, I think it's a fair amount of charge, not too risky on that one. Just be aware that you have many choices for the different activations that you'd like them to do for you. And if you consider their qualities, you will gain that much more power from using them. Okay. And that much more advantage of using them. All right. So green calcite, another one of my favorites. See if I can show you pictures. This is one of mine. And this is connection with the heart. So again, when we're communicating with pets, we're always sending out from our heart space that we are open to communicate and that it's coming from the heart. And again, we are some complex characters, and we say one thing with our body and another thing with our words, and maybe not necessarily even to them, but they see us interacting with other humans and see that happening. And they're like, meh. So when you can use this green calcite, for example, I just think it's pretty to raise that vibration and bring it from the heart, right? It helps to strengthen that. This is a fire and a water. So again, just if you understand your own qualities of where you come from, and if you don't and that you think is a good topic to have, I would be happy to arrange for that. Just know that fire and water are what's connected with green calcite. Okay. And then the last one is lithium quartz. And I didn't have a good example of lithium quartz to share, but I really like this one because it's about heart healing and alleviating stress. And even if we're communicating good news to our pets, right? If we do that in a healing and a anti-anxiety, anti-stress way, then when the harder conversations happen, you're more prepared for it and it's more common to them, right? You just don't want to, you don't want to wait for the big conversation to then say, okay, well, now we need to make sure that we include healing and anxiety, because then they'll be like, whoa, like, you bringing healing into this? What are we in for? I have a really good example of this. I actually connected with the gal that I had mentioned earlier that works with my horse. I spoke with her dog, and had not met her dog at all. No, didn't know anything about this. And I'm tuning in with her dog, and her dog's like, pick up that healing stone. And I'm like, okay. And it was like, we have a health crisis going here. And I was like, wow, what's this all about? Well, come to find out, they were talking about getting a puppy. And they were saying in the midst of their household that it would be a good thing to get a puppy because their dog was getting older and they thought it would be fun for her to have a puppy around in the household. Well, what she thought was that she was supposed to have puppies and she couldn't have puppies because she was spayed. And so health crisis, big time. And so because my client that I was talking to, because her human parent also worked with crystals, she knew, the dog knew I worked with crystals and was like, we got health healing to do. We got like, so she alerted early on to the fact that this was going to be a big conversation. What was hilarious is that once we got down to it, that she didn't have to worry about having a puppy, that somebody else was going to have the puppy and they were going to bring it to her. And she was like a surrogate mom? And it was like, yeah, like a surrogate mom. She's like, oh my God. So then she was all excited and she was talking about how they were going to co-parent and all this other. So then we had to have a conversation about who was going to be raising the puppy and how that was going to roll and whose job was going to be what. But she was a great communicator and knew exactly that, again, going to this healing stone because she'd had some experience with healing stones in the past and said, that's the one we need. So don't wait until you need it to let them know that that's something that's out there for them. Because sometimes we need it just because the world's being the world, right? So, okay, let's, are we ready to practice?
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is going to be our, oh, hold on. Before we do that, before I forget, I had to put this up here. So I was like, before I forget, I get excited about practice. Then we talk about that. And I don't tell you the stuff I'm supposed to. So of course, for this, donations are appreciated, Venmo, PayPal, what have you. Upcoming events. So I'm getting organized and I'm starting to recognize the things that I'll be doing here coming out of the summer. And so on August 3rd and 4th, out in Newport, Oregon, the Pathways to Transformation Holistic Health Fair, which used to be held down in south of Newport, south of Waldport, in that little town down there, every year, was very popular, has now moved up to Newport. So I'm going to be there for both the 3rd and the 4th. I'm going to be talking on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. And then of course, so anyway, it's a great fair. Would love to have you guys, if it's anything that might be possible for you to come out to the beach, come out to Newport and support the fair that's there. And I'm excited for that. The next one is that we have a monthly meetup and hold on, sorry about that. And so we have the monthly meetup on August 27th. Part of me was like, I'm going to take one of the summer days off. And my spirit guide said, no, you are not. So I said, okay, fine. We're going to do a monthly meetup August 27th. So I don't know what the topic is yet, but excited to see what that'll be. And then on Saturday, August 31st, I am doing a animal communication and a prana energy workshop. So there's going to be 2 practitioners, myself, and then a gal named Lisa Burney, who I've known for probably 15 years. And we're going to be doing it here at my farm. And it's going to be dog focused. I should have put that on here. So this is going to be a dog event. We are going to also have a horse event. So for those people that have horses that might want to bring their horse in to have this done, we're going to do this workshop with a maximum number of horses or what have you. Anyway, this one, Saturday, August 31st, is with dogs. You can bring your dog. Anyone who's got dogs that are going to be reactive or wouldn't be a good fit for this session can, I have I have a couple dogs here that are really good at this and can help support you in that process if you want to learn how to do it on them. And then for ones that want to do this on their dogs that are reactive or super anxious, we're going to do a remote session. And we're setting the date for that. I think we set it for September 14th or 15th. So I'll let you know. So I'm super excited about this. If you're not familiar with prana energy, you can look that up a little bit. I have used it in small ways and just have seen it be really supportive for all animals and all pets. So more information available on my website, including the registration page will be up there shortly. And so that's that. Okay. Any questions? All right, cool. All right, now we get to practice. Okay, so I'd like everybody to take a second and meet Fernando. So like I mentioned, Fernando is a 1-month-old little boy, Andalusian. And so Jennifer is his person, and Jennifer wants to see if Fernando has anything that he'd like to share. And then also, does he like his name? So let's take a minute and we're going to go ahead and get ourselves ready in whichever way that is comfortable for you. So having your feet flat on the ground in a comfortable position, have your eyes open or closed, again, whatever works best for you. And taking that deep breath and letting your body know that we're going to be taking time out now from our crazy life and those things that brought us here and those things we get to do after, and just going to take a moment and focus on our breath. And with each inhale, we're just going to bring in some of that fresh earth energy. And with each exhale, we're just going to let go of all those thoughts that are in our minds, things that consumed our day. And then just start to bring in that fresh energy and letting our physical body, our spiritual body, our emotional body, even our psychic being, just let it know that with each deep breath, we're preparing to take ourselves up into a space where the vibration is high and healthy, that our ego does not need to worry at this space about what to do or what to think or how to act. And as we're filling our energy bubbles with this fresh earth energy, we'll bring down some of that energy from Father Sky with all that wisdom and all that love, mixing together and allowing for our heart space to begin to open up. And with each breath, as we're drawing in this new energy from the earth, we're grounded into that space. And we're touching into that energy from Father Sky, that all this energy is just welled up inside our heart. And as our heart space opens up further from the front of you, from the back of you, whatever feels best. And that heart space is letting our little Fernando know that we're here to chat. And then letting Fernando know that our intention is to really be his voice and to be able to share things that have been on his mind and in his thoughts with his person and the people in his world. And we're going to welcome him to this world. He's still like, he's like celebrating a birthday. He's so happy to be here on Earth. So I don't want to ruin it. We're like, yes, we're happy to have you too. So happy. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put out that question to you, Fernando, because Jennifer wants to know, do you like that name? I think for some reason he is like, I saw him shaking his head. No, I don't know what you guys caught, but all of a sudden I was like, no, he's like, no. So, I, so, so just take a moment and jot down what feedback that you're getting maybe from, and Fernando, if I may, I'm just going to use that name so that we can acknowledge that we're talking with you and that, and yep, and even people do name changes. So sometimes people have names on their birth certificates and then they're different. So even my horse's name is Gitteron's Fantasy. That's what he was registered as. And I did not know what to do with that. And his name's completely different. So you, your name could change. You don't have to, you don't have to be with the one name. So, but just so, do you like your name, Fernando? And if you do, what do you like about it? And if you don't like it, what don't you like about it? Right.
Mm.
And then Fernando, yeah. And so you have different people that are sort of checking in. So you can just talk to each person individually if you feel like you can just kind of express something like from a loudspeaker, you're welcome to do that too. He likes to talk to everybody individually, is what I'm getting. And so he's going to share a little bit with each person. And so he wants to, so he's showing me water. He's showing me a big bucket of water, like one of those big barrels, like that thing that I can put my hooves into and play around in it. So, so that's what he just showed me as something that he'd like to have in his area, is a big bucket of water, some water to play in. Yeah. What about your herd mates? Is there anybody that you like to spend time with, or that you want to play with more often? Thing. Yeah, and then all of a sudden he started to talk about these flies. Like he doesn't like it when the flies bite him. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So yeah, I don't I don't know how, there's some things that you could do to help with the flies, but yeah, they're yeah. So he has to stand, so he'll stand close to his mom sometimes just so she can swat her tail over him.
Mhm. Yeah. You like the name Gus?
Is there any other information that you want to share, Mr. Fernando? Okay. All right. Thanks for, oh, and he is like short attention span. Gone now. Things to do, places to go, people to see. Okay. So does anybody want to share what they got from him? If anything?
I don't know if I was making that stuff up or not, so that is why I'm in this practice session.
That's right.
to see to see. I feel like I couldn't concentrate just because I feel like I needed more time, but then you say that it's supposed to that it comes quickly and fleeting, and maybe you're just not catching it because it's come so quickly. So when you were asking him about his name, I just thought wind, but then I was like, well, she was talking about wind with the other stuff, and then it switched to Gone with the Wind. So then I was like, I'm like, does he want his name to be Gone with the Wind? But then I was like, oh, maybe it's a character in Gone with the Wind. So then I was like, Rhett Butler. And so I don't know if I was making all that up or you know what I'm saying, but I just wanted to share because I'm trying to let myself at least get started with this thing. So
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. And so Angie, that's a really good point. So number one, things happen quick on this Zoom, right? Because it's like you just got to go for it. And then the other is that if I had a penny for every time somebody said, I don't know if I was making this up or not. And so um the um I say you go with your instinct, and the more that you just listen to your instinct and go with it, the stronger that it'll be, because your ego still
Yeah.
thinks that it needs to be involved because you can't think without it, but you're not thinking like it's like it's okay, ego, you can go take a nap right now because I'm not like my body, I'll breathe, I don't need, yeah. Um, so it's not uncommon to struggle pretty regularly with that ego. And sometimes it shows up after you have like some successful sessions that go really easy. And then all of a sudden it's like, now I'm struggling because you start second guessing yourself. It's all like this. So practice makes better. And I would stick to the wind thing. You know, what makes me wonder is I wonder what is the Spanish word for wind? I don't know, but I wonder.
well, brisa is one. Brisa is something for wind, but I'm trying to remember what.
Yeah. And 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 Angie, just to let you know, this particular little guy likes to run. Like he likes to feel the wind in his mane.
Like Gone with the Wind.
Like
Okay.
so he could very well, and if I remember correctly, I'd have to listen back on the recording, but I think when I was asking about his name and he said, yeah, I like to speak to people individually. So some things that you got, I wouldn't get, and Sally wouldn't get, and Jennifer, so yeah. So thanks for sharing, because
I looked it up. Wind is viento.
oh, Viento. Wow.
That's what Google says.
Viento. That's a cool name. So, okay. And then What else did you catch? Fleeting or not, may or may not have been, who knows, not life-changing, certainly entertaining and good to hear about information. Anything else anybody else want to share?
I offered him a name, but I didn't hear anything back.
So I definitely saw, Jennifer, that big, like the water thing. And then I did remember you telling me that he liked playing in a baby pool.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
I mean, but he was like clearly showing like, I want to paw in water and play. So
And I'll just let you know that when you said, oh, attention span, he's gone, it was because he went to his pool and started pawing it. So, um, and I've been only putting a little bit of water in it, and I'll put some more in
Yeah.
for him.
no, he wants like big, he was like, I want, and so, and and to your point, Angie, he showed it to me so clearly and so vibrantly that my ego didn't have time to go, oh, but hold on, you already know that he likes to play in water because she told you that earlier today for 2 seconds. And I just saw it so vibrantly, it just kind of came out. I'm like, this is what I'm seeing. And then, so, but had my ego had time to interfere, or if it hadn't been just so like, it was so clear. Yeah. Right. Just,
Ian.
so Angie shared a picture of her dog. Do you guys have a few minutes? Do you want to do one other practice session?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you have time
Yeah.
for that, Angie?
I do, yeah. And for me, I was happy to practice with somebody else's because I always get stuck with my own. And I was so happy to hear you say your interaction with your friend, your horse, who helps you with your horse, you help her with your dog. Because I'm like, well, can't you guys both talk to your own pets? But it makes sense that you have to, get some outside perspective now and again. Even the best, even the best.
It's not, yeah, it's yeah, your ego is attached to feelings, right, in a big way. And so yeah, it can be hard with your own pet. So yeah. All right, well, let me go ahead and share a picture of this little ballerina. Let me see if I can figure this out. Okay, hold on here, folks. Stop sharing. Share. 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 Am I sharing?
We see her.
You can?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is ballerina. And oh yeah, okay. So
Do you want me to come up with something that's based on what we were what your content was today about situations and things?
yeah, you don't need to do that.
Oh.
I just need to just say, I just need to chat with ballerina for 1 second. So okay, thank you for sharing that. And I'm gonna let her know. And so what we want to do is I have a few other people here that would like to talk with you, ballerina. And so you have the opportunity to share with them some information as well. And so if it's okay with you, I'd like to have you connect with these folks, and Angie's here as well. And then there's Jennifer and Sally. And like me, we're all just here to be your voice to share. Okay. What you need to do. Okay. So, so if it's okay with you, Angie, I'm just going to I'm going to ask questions based on some feedback I'm getting and give everybody a chance to sort of connect in, and that's going to help me out too. So, so little ballerina, let's talk about health. And is there anything on your body that's physically bothering you? So we can start with the T in your head, work down your neck, over your back, on your paws, down your back legs, all the way to the tip of your tail. Anything you want to share is welcome, and we appreciate. Okay. All right. And then, and Angie, do you have a question for Ballerina?
Health related, I did. I guess I wanted to know, does she want to do the tests that the vet suggested we could move forward with? If we want to wonder why some of the numbers on her testing was high, they said, oh, you can do an ultrasound. And then I'm like, well, does she want to like move forward with that process, or is she good with where she is?
Okay. All right, so okay, she shared with me something about for that. Okay. All right, so do we want to just go ahead and share what she shared? Anything else that she'd like to share? Yeah, she wants to go and lay in her bed. Okay.
Normal.
She was showing me laying in her bed, like, you know, circling and crawling into a ball, right? So that kind of tells me for her that she's like, no, I'm done. So, okay. I had, when I was getting ready for our session tonight, my back was really sore. And I was like, is my back really sore because I worked hard today and it's my, you know, and so I asked to have, so when I was getting ready, I asked to have all of my own physical stuff to be removed during this time so that I wouldn't be distracted. And I did not feel that again until I said, let's talk to Ballerina. And then all of a sudden, my back and my right, behind my right shoulder was like really tight and really sore. So, did anybody else catch that?
I caught something a little different. She was showing me more on her right side. She kept on showing her back bum area. Um, and yeah, something in like into her tail. So I don't know if it was more related to her back. But yeah, that was what she was showing me.
On the right side, yep.
On the right side, yeah. And then I got, I don't know if you went for a walk, but she was telling, like, I felt like she walked over like rocks that were kind of not too much fun for her feet and stuff. And that's what I got, that she kind of her feet got hot or there were rocks or something. So yeah.
Does that make sense, Angie?
I feel like we did walk on some like tiny, like little rocks the other day. And so, yes, that makes sense. And then the back right, well, there's two things that made sense there. Yeah, she favors that side, but also right now she's got a tiny little polyp in her butt. So when you said down her butt and down her tail, that made me, I was like, well, like, I guess I was like, is it on her back or like inside? Because
No,
this is more like inside or on the outside.
it was like on her butt cheek. That's
Okay.
what yeah, she kept on like, it's back there and it goes up my tail.
Yeah, because this one is like in her anus. So,
That would make sense. Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah, she was very adamant about that.
yeah, and it's been getting stuck outside of her, stuck outside of her anus versus usually it goes like back in after she goes to the bathroom, goes poop, it'll come out and then go back in. And lately it's been staying out more often. So it seems like it's bothering her more. So that part makes sense. But again,
And it would make sense that she's not going to show Jennifer her
her butthole.
Right? She's like, my tail, my.
Yeah, it was like she was trying to lick it. That's what I saw. Was she was like, it's back there. Like
She has been licking down there. It's when I watch her, it looks like she's licking more of her urethra and like her little female parts, but I can never quite tell what she's licking down there. But that's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's trying to get it.
Yeah, especially if she can't get to that. Yeah.
I did want to share, like at the very beginning when you tuned us in, Marla, I was getting that she was very anxious. Was that why you kind of stopped and discussed to her? Like, hey,
I had to stop because her back was sore and I was having to work through. Yeah. I was like, okay, we're going to have a conversation. And I was trying not to, because normally the way that'll go away is when I let them know that we've talked about it and they understand that it's going to be addressed and then, right, they'll let it go.
Okay.
So, so you felt anxious, huh? You felt some anxiety from her. Yeah.
Anxiety, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people in here. Yeah.
Well, but we're also getting ready to move, which is why your speech today was really pertinent. So, and I haven't talked to her in the way you've said, so that would make sense. And I am surrounded by boxes right now. So.
Angie, I just have a question because she did show me that. So she showed me that she was anxious. And I was like, oh, what can I do to help you not be anxious? I did ask that. And she showed me a gold like necklace that had like cats and moons and something else. Do you have something like that in your possession? I'm just curious because that's what she showed me.
When you say that, it brings up, I have been putting, I switch her collars out and I tend to use a cat collar that has a little bell on it. And they have like, and there's on the last few cat collars I've gotten her have like a little charm on them.
Okay.
And,
yes.
And we got her charm and her bell got ripped off, and so did her dog tag. So she's not wearing that right now. So I have a new dog collar. I have a new collar with a bell and a place to put her new tag. So I'm wondering if that's what I came to mind when you said that.
Okay.
Yeah, because you know why, Jennifer? What came to mind when you talked about that was she doesn't want to get lost.
Yeah.
She knows that you guys are moving and she doesn't want to get lost.
Right. And I just thought about that too. I'm like, I need to get that sorted.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because she's always biting on like the collars that I've gotten her. She's always biting the bells and like trying to rip them off on her. I'm like, why are you messing with my system?
Oh, I love it.
So I'll tell her I need the bell on her. Maybe she'll chill out about the bell this time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because she just showed me charms. She showed me she liked this, but she didn't show me the bell. She was just like,
well, maybe she just wants the charm and the thing, but I like the bell because then I can hear where she is. But yes, that makes sense.
Maybe you can get her a couple of charms and then they would kind of
And they would jingle together
We'll
instead of
jingle
the bell.
together and it'll
Yes.
be, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
There you
Totally.
Okay, and it won't be as embarrassing as a bell.
That's
That's what you
true.
said, is bells are embarrassing.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, that she didn't, and I'm sure she doesn't like the fact that I'm getting her cat collars instead of dog collars.
Well, it seemed like to me she liked the necklace. That's what she told me.
Yeah,
Like,
I think she likes them too. Think she likes them because they're thinner and they're lighter, and so I
Yeah.
think she like, just the bell is embarrassing. Yeah.
yeah.
All right, I've got the charms. The charms can dangle against each other. I like that. Thank you guys.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
And
About
I saw mystical charms too, just to let you know. They weren't like,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Like
It was
moon. Okay.
moon and a star. Yeah, I was like on that end. It was, yeah.
Okay.
They're fancy charms, not just, yeah, I don't know what you have, but they looked, it was, yeah.
I'll see if we
But
can upgrade for
I'll
myself
share.
and for her.
And then your big question about doing the ultrasound test. So what I got from that was, she said, information is good because she says you wonder what's going on. And
I do, but I also am hesitant because I do and I don't. I do because I want to make her feel as comfortable as possible, but I don't because if it ends up being something like, oh, she needs a transplant, or it's $5,000 later, like I don't know that I want to know because I don't want to have to make that decision. Do you know what I mean? So I'm protecting myself in some way too by not doing it. So yeah, that's why I was curious, like from her perspective.
yeah, so from her perspective, it was like, she was like, information's always helpful. And
Right.
then you won't wonder. And so just to share with you, Angie, not, that I have a dog that she had a nosebleed that we couldn't stop, so I had to take her down. And of course in that scenario it's like, all right, we're going to do this ultrasound and see what's going on or whatever. And so she's got lymphoma. And so I was struggling with the same thing. I was like, at first I was like, yes, whatever, put her into the chemo. I don't care how much it costs, whatever the treatments are, let's do it. And, but then, I came home and talked to the family about it, and they were like, well, if you do the research about how they would treat lymphoma, 90% of the treatment is prednisone. And so the other chemo treatments that she would go through on a weekly basis kind of help to elevate that a little bit, but it would earn her another maybe 6 to 12 months. And you're having all this, so if you just put her on the prednisone and say, okay, well, we know she's got lymphoma, so we're going to do blood tests every month. We check for her lymph nodes to see how they're doing, like all those things. So that was just my experience, was that we ended up with some information, and we're, we made the decision not to do the $5,000, 6-month to the hospital every week treatment, because it was a life choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and it feels less like there's going to be surprises, right?
Right.
But I had a lot of good crying that I did. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that's true. I guess some pre-releasing resistance for whatever comes next would be useful too. And yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, that's just my experience. The other dog that I had to help let go, it was her body that failed more than like some weird internal thing or whatever. And so that always seems a little clearer. It's hard when it's, so.
Well, I'm on the
I have a
flip
quick
side.
question for you guys, not necessarily as psychics, but just as like pet owners and people with animals. So for her back, like, is that like chiropractic or massage, or are there specialists that work or lay people that work with back, or like something that I can do on my own to help her back?
So yes, there are dog massage therapists. I bet you could do this yourself and look up on YouTube, like, dog, back massage. There's a lot of really good information out there, and
Okay.
and then follow your intuition. You're like, yeah, this feels good. And the great thing about pets is that if they don't like it, or if it's not the right thing, they will just walk away. And if they like it and it's the right thing, they're there with you, right?
Yeah.
And there's also, you could use, crystals to help with moving the energy. Prana, right, helps with pain relief, and can help to reduce swelling, inflammation, things like that. It's pretty cool. So whatever you do with that intention is it's going to help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Sally, you were going to say something?
Oh, Ricky has chronic pneumonia and I suspect that he's got it again. So we're going to the vet tomorrow.
Oh,
Oh,
is that right? Because did you hear me cough when I was connecting? And I was like,
Yeah.
right? But it wasn't ballerina, so it was Ricky's. Got it.
Yeah. 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 He's been
Okay.
coughing a lot.
oh.
Yeah.
I feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to give him a little Reiki today. See if
Good.
that helped.
I'm telling you, your intention and whatever you do, it's going to help. It's, I don't know that it's going to resolve pneumonia, but,
Yeah.
but it'll certainly help to maybe relieve some pain, add some energy, share some love, right?
Their love. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But now that you've had the discussion about the vet visit, talk to him about it in detail. We're going because I think you have pneumonia again, and here's what that looks like, and these are what the treatments are like, and right, and here's what
Yes.
the medicine's like, and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
Could I share one thing about Ricky real quick?
Sure. Yeah. Please.
Okay. So I don't know, like, Marla, maybe you could confirm this if you got this from him, but when you were talking about him peeing at your son's house,
Yeah.
what I got from him was that you're disrupting his routine and he's being a little sassy boy. That's what I got from him. That
Okay.
you guys do certain things at a certain time, but that's what I got from him was
Okay.
you're ruining my routine, so I'm gonna just ruin your day. I don't know if you got that, Marla, but that's what I got.
Well, I got that. I don't want to go there anymore. So that, and you got a little more. Yeah, and I have one that has my prednisone child has to go to the bathroom. So.
Oh. Okay, Ricky. Bye-bye.
All right. Any other questions, feedback, thoughts, or what have you? Send them over, please, because I love that. And I'm gonna post this, and we'll talk soon.
Yes.
Okay, good luck, you guys. Keep me posted how things go. All right.
Thank you. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.